Truth, Peace, Hotep, Big Rig 1961. Cassette moving right along. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has its pole, everything has its pairs of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. In Wayne B. Chandler's book, chapter 4, it starts, according to the foundation of African thought, the ancient Africans believed the world to be founded upon contradictions, and this belief was expressed in the forms of the principle or doctrines of opposite. The principle, probably most visible, most employed, and most widely known of the seven, continues as the basis of many African societies, including the Dogon of Mali, the Fan of Dahomey, the Brahma of Eastern Guinea, and the ancient Ifa of West Africa. The Ifa employed this law today in the form of the oracle known as Ifa. They processed the genesis of Ifa system of divination to be 20,000 BCE and spoke to its pervasive influences in the dissemination of the concept of polarity in various cultures and lands outside of Africa. Ancient and contemporary African cultures hold polarity paramount in the formation and maintenance of creation and universal order. Nigerian-born Dr. C. Kybalion defined itself as with the duality of being and becoming. The product of becoming and becoming is the life force, that which gives us rise to change and motion. The life force is also organizing power, bringing order to the primeval chaos. This organizing power, this force of life and motion, is sometimes described as the first created thing. And again, the first created thing, which I believe, in the great cosmos, was the divine feminine. And from the divine feminine grew all things. And the greatest creation, of course, I'm saying, is being man. Not humankind, I'm saying man. That the great divine mother, who is the great African, or to say black mother, the black goddess, created all things from her and created this divine planet, which is, something that, again, is something I'm going to get into in another context. But, the duality of polars is like I try to explain to people, like you have love here and you have hate here. And somewhere in the middle is, degrees of, one slanting towards love and one slanting towards hate. And that's why it's good to have your heart, in a place where, it could be seen as a divine love for people. Now, if you have, like, again, you have hate on one side, you have love on the other, right? And as you, it's like, say you start here, but, you have hate out to here. In order for you to get to love, you have to come all the way over here. That means you have to love twice as much as you've hated in your life. And within that whole context, that love will, conquer all. If, that's your choice and decision, because again, I have an understanding of why there is hate and, why I have my degrees and my understandings and my vibration gets to the point where I can no longer deal with it, then you have to step back. It's like taking 2 steps back in order to make 1 step forward is another divine principle. Because sometimes you're going to have to look and step back, to make sure that, you're not going on the wrong path. Because, one of the things or the allegories in the Bible that you could definitely see is, when it talks about broad is the road that leads to destruction, but narrow is the path to righteousness. And I've always defined it as walking in a desert. And you're walking in the desert, and all you see is your footpaths. It's like it's all cracked and everything, and then all of a sudden you see something in the distance. You can't make it out, and as you get closer, you see it's a large wall, and then as you get closer, you see it's a door, and over that door mantle it says destruction. And you look back, and all you see is your footsteps. And you're asking yourself, well, how did I get to this door? Well, because you couldn't see left to right, okay, there's no definition. You didn't realize that the path that you were taking was the path to destruction all along. And you should be able to see that in, one of the other things is it's like emotions of love and hate are the same emotion but different degrees. Okay, and that's what you have to learn how to master. That's another allegory within the Bible where it talks about, and I'm not trying to promote the Bible as some master key to anything because there are so many different, and again, as it says, there are so many half-truths in there because the only way you can have a good lie is to have a good truth in there. Okay, so, you shouldn't use the Bible as anything but a guide and to listen to the stories. But anyway, as I was talking about, leading up to the door of destruction, but then you should have a clearly defined path, and you should know left from right, right from wrong. Okay, and and again we go back to your heart, the vibration of your heart. The more love you have in there, the more you can discern to do the right thing and do the righteous thing. Okay, now righteousness is not a word that is just used for Christians or Muslims or Jews or whatever religion that you're practicing. And again, I do not promote Judaism, Christianity, or Islam because they are patriarchal paradigms that get you caught up into this whole thing of control. And I'm not saying that the great cosmic mother or the great cosmic has to deal with chaos, because out of peace is where we all came from. Okay, there was a silence before there was what we have in the universe, or there may be another divine half truth that maybe we came from a greater chaos, and this is peace. And the only time that we create that noise is when we're moving outside of peace. So the whole thing about duality and understanding the degrees of things, love and hate are the same emotion, and again, emotions are good servants but poor masters. Okay, you need to learn how to have a discerning heart and have control over your environment by understanding that when you starting to hate too much. And I'm not saying that hating too much is such a bad thing, because there are things that you should discerningly not like, which are the destruction of Mother Earth, the destruction of our families. How could you not want that to be? Because here we go with that paradigm of good and evil, but they're the same emotion. Okay, so what happens is, I'm not talking about going to that divine zero, which is nirvana. What I'm saying is that you have to understand that they are, like good and evil, love and hate, peace and harmony, as opposed to war and chaos, are the same degree of that particular feeling, construct. So you have to just be aware of some things sometimes, and then move forward based upon whether or not these things are going to be good or bad for you, and you would know that just asking within yourself what it is. So have a good day, and I'm going to move on to the next. Principle, which is the principle of gender. Peace and blessings.